Hi, this is me, Cyn, as you know, and I've got a guest on with me today, Michael La Ronn. He is an author, and you've got so many titles you've published, it's ridiculous. And also, if my audience doesn't know, Michael is actually the very first author I did an audiobook for.
Yes.
Yours was my first audiobook.
It was one of my first audiobooks too. So we learned a lot together.
We grew together. And you were just absolutely awesome. You were so patient with me. And, as I worked through some tech issues, and then I was sick, and then it was just, so anyway, I thought it would be great to have you on, talk with you about your writing career and your YouTube channel. And that seems to have taken off pretty well. You're very active on there, it seems.
Yes, very active.
Tell us how you started on this journey of writing.
Yeah. So I'll just throw out the name of the YouTube channel for anyone who's interested.
Yes, sure. And I'll put a link.
Yeah, Author Level Up, just because I know some people are like, hey, what's that YouTube channel name?
Right.
So I'm Michael La Ronn. I am a science fiction fantasy author. I got my start in 2012. So I'd always been a writer, but I just didn't have that special sauce. I didn't have the mojo. Like I didn't have the motivation. Like I wrote, but I didn't really write, if that makes sense. I wrote some short stories here and there, some poems here and there, but it wasn't anything, special. Yeah. And I had a near-death experience in 2012. And at that point, I said to myself, I remember laying on a hospital bed and thinking to myself, I have to do something different with my life. I was working a dead-end job at that point. And this vision of becoming a writer came to me. I don't know where it came from, but it was really, really cool. And I swore to myself on that bed that I would write a book and I would get it out there. And whatever would happen after that is what would happen. And I got out and discovered self-publishing right after that. And the rest is kind of history. I jumped into it with kind of every ounce of my being. And I'm almost at 60 books later of science fiction and fantasy and self-help for writers. And I also run a YouTube channel called Author Level Up, as I said, authorlevelup.com, where I do weekly videos to help writers master the craft of writing and be the best writer that they can be. And I'm also a pretty avid podcaster. So I've got a couple of different podcasts out there. I've got a podcast called Writing Tip of the Day, where I do a writing tip in 5 days, or a writing tip in 5 minutes. I can't talk today. 5 days, a 5 day long podcast. No, that's crazy. But I also, so I have a couple of podcasts, and I've managed to build a writing career while working a full-time job in the insurance industry, raising a family, and I'm in my final semester of law school. And so I've kind of balanced a lot of different things, a lot of different balls in the air. And that's kind of one of my specialties, expertise, or area of expertise, is that I've built a writing career while doing all of that.
Right.
That's kind of me in a nutshell.
Well, are you still, do you still have the insurance? Are you still working in insurance, or are you now fully dedicated to your writing? I'm
still in insurance right now.
Full time still?
Yep, full time.
Holy cow! How do you find the time?
A lot of people ask that. I do sleep. That's the first
really?
thing I say.
Are you sure?
It's just that I don't want to tell people that I got cybernetic implants, because then the jig will be up.
That'll give it all away.
So yeah, I have an amazing spouse, amazing wife. That's one of the special secrets. She's very supportive of the writing, and we've got a love language that we have. And also I've pretty much cut everything else out of my life that is not writing related. So when I'm not at work, I'm writing. And so I gave up a lot of hobbies, made a lot of sacrifices to kind of do all the things that I do on a daily basis. And that wasn't easy, but it did allow me to find more time. And then also I feel like I found my purpose. Yeah. And so knowing that allows me to go a lot faster and a lot further, because I just kind of know what it is that I should be doing.
Right. You're very focused. You're not just kind of, I think I want to do this, and then kind of flounder around a little bit before you actually
Exactly.
get there, which is what happens with a lot of people. It's very easy to get distracted with extraneous stuff around us, social
Yep.
media,
Squirrel syndrome.
movies and TV. Exactly. Yeah, squirrel. Right, exactly. So, were you always interested in the sci-fi genre, or was that something that kind of came later?
I was always interested in sci-fi. I mean, I grew up reading Ray Bradbury. He
Okay.
was the author that he made me want to quit writing and then also want to start writing at the same time. Just
Really? Why quit?
yeah.
Did you feel intimidated by?
So he's so good. I
Oh,
mean, he's
okay.
just such a good writer. I mean, you just read his
Okay.
stuff and it's just like, I'll never be at this level, But
Aw.
at the same time, it's like, well, why shouldn't I try to tell a story that enraptures people like he did? So,
Right, exactly.
so I've always liked sci-fi. I've always liked fantasy. I grew up playing a lot of video games, Japanese RPGs growing up. And so I've always kind of had that desire to tell a story and that kind of bent towards seeing the world.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've always been a follower.
Well, I noticed that you also have written, well, I don't know how many, but I noticed that you've also written at least one lit RPG novel.
Yeah, I wrote a series. It's not technically, it's not technically lit RPG. It's more game lit.
Game lit, yeah.
A character is trapped in a video game, but I know there's some folks out there that they quibble a little bit with the lit RPG title.
I know. I just say lit RPG. To me,
I know.
I know there's all these little nuances and distinguishing characteristics that some really ardent fans of the series make, but I don't. I'm just like, it's lit RPG. So,
yeah.
Because but it's funny because the company that I work with now, I mean, I continue to do audiobooks, but then I've also evolved to doing audiobook proofing, and I work with a company called Sound Booth Theater.
Oh, cool.
And we primarily produce lit RPG audiobooks. I saw you have done a book with Justin Sloan.
Yes.
And we've also done some books for him.
Oh,
so
cool.
it's kind of, I didn't realize you were kind of in that same circle. So I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Justin's a rock star. We wrote a book together, a series together called Modern Necromancy.
Yeah.
That was in 2016. And I think the series did really well. I mean, it got over 120 reviews. And,
oh, wow. And that one has an audiobook, doesn't it? I believe that's the one. Yeah, okay.
Yes, it does.
Who the narrator was. But
Michael Tamburino.
That's right. Tamburino. I don't know if I've ever heard his work before, but I remember seeing his name on there. So that's pretty cool. Was that so? What was your second audiobook? Was it that series or was it another series that you had worked on?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember. I think my second, I think my first fiction series, because I think yours was the first audiobook that I did. My first fiction series was Android X.
Okay.
So I have a series, it's a sci-fi series called Android X, takes place in the year 2300, and it's about a android special agent who's trying to track down an assassin. And so what does the world look like in the year 2300 where humans and androids live together after a deadly singularity that almost wiped out humanity? And now they've made peace, but what does it look like? And so, So,
and what does it look like?
It is my version of the future is very optimistic. I think some people would say, "Oh my gosh, you're too optimistic." In the story, climate change was kind of the predominant factor that threatened the existence of humanity, but androids helped humanity solve that problem. And so basically the world came together under one world government, and it's kind of a utopia in a way. It's not 100% perfect.
One world government.
One world government. Yeah.
One of those. Okay.
It didn't. Yeah. So, but it ended up okay. But then there was a singularity. Androids tried to destroy humanity. Fortunately, humanity figured out a way to defeat the androids. And now there's a different type of android technology that is more benevolent. And humans and androids are living together side by side.
Okay. So how many books were in that series?
That was 3. The first is Android Paradox. And that was, I think I wrote that in 2015. So.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 books.
It's all done. No.
Yep, it's all done. All done. Okay. If anyone's interested, you can check it out at michaellarron.com/androidx. It's the name of
Okay.
the series.
That sounds like a cool series, actually. I might have to check that out sometime.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to write.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. Well, what was the process that you went through in that collaborative effort? How did you both together think of the plot, or did someone think of the plot and then the other person wrote around it? How did you do that?
Yeah, I wrote that one all by myself. So,
that one. I'm sorry. That was a huge brain fart. I was thinking about the work you did with Justin. Oh my gosh.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I wrote that one all by myself.
I was going to ask you about that anyway. Your writing process. Good grief. Your writing process. How do you come up with a concept, and then are you a pantser? Are you an outliner? Mm-hmm. And how long does it take you to write your first draft, and then the revisions and all of that?
Yeah, well, my process has evolved over the years. So this is one of the areas where I'm kind of unique, maybe compared to some of the other people you might talk to, in that I started off as an outliner. And in fact, Android Paradox was the very last novel I ever outlined. It's kind of funny. I used to believe in outlining, and I kept finding that, I write this outline, I spend all this time on it, and I don't end up following it. So it's like, why do I spend all my time on it? Yeah, it takes me somewhere different. The character takes you somewhere, and so I thought to myself, what if I'm spending all this time doing it, why am I only to not follow it? Why am I doing it? So it's evolved over the years. So I'm a pantser now. I'm a 100% pantser. So when I come up with an idea, the only thing I need is an idea of what the first scene will be.
Okay.
And not even the first scene, but more of like the first frame of the first scene, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Movie references, right?
Yeah, like the very first shot.
The very first shot or a series of shots. That's all I need. And then I sit down and I start writing the story. I have no idea where it's going to go.
Oh, wow.
And I write it, and there's ups and downs. It's a kind of a roller coaster, so to speak. But I write it, and, I write everything in one draft now. I don't do any rewriting or any revising. I've learned that it's better. I prefer to take my time and get it right the first time.
Yeah.
So that does take me a little bit longer than if I'd be redrafting it. But these days, I write books. I can write a novel in about 21 days.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, so I'm sitting here thinking of the complications you might run into, any sort of plot holes that you don't realize you're creating as you're writing, by the seat of your pants. And how do you go back if you don't revise? How do you go back and close those up, or do you close those up while you're in the process of the first draft?
Yeah, and I should clarify. I do revise, but I don't rewrite.
Okay.
So for example, when I'm writing, I follow a method called Writing into the Dark. It's by Dean Wesley Smith. Okay. It's basically a guide on how to write a book without an outline. And so one of the ways that he teaches is that when you write 500 words, you stop and you go back and review the 500 words that you just wrote. So you're technically revising as you go.
Right.
And then you revise that 500 words, and then you go forward. And then you go back and you revise the 500 words you just wrote. So you're looping. It's called looping. You go back through the book as you write it. And then when you're done writing it, you go back through it one final time.
Okay.
So that's how I do it. So in a way, the writing and the revising is kind of built in together. Okay.
That makes more sense now. I just had a vision of you just getting it all down, and then I'm done.
I wish.
How in the world do you do that?
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet, but there are some professional writers out there that can do that.
Yeah, I know that Stephen King is a pantser, but I don't know if he follows a similar type of method that you do, or if he just throws it all down and then that's it. Mm-hmm. So when you're done and you're done with the whole process, do you hand it off to a second pair of eyes to check for any other issues, or do you just go with it?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I actually just finished a novel in January, and I wrote it, got it all looped, revised to the point where I felt it was good. And the process I've been following now is kind of a unique one. So this novel, the series I'm writing now, is an urban fantasy series, and it's It's about a character who is a rat shifter, so he can turn into a rat. And
that's so cool. I have rats. I love rats.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so he can turn into like a Norway rat, and it takes place in the city of Chicago, which is the rattiest city in the country, maybe the world. It really? Not quite the world, but yeah, if you've ever been to Chicago,
I have not.
They got a lot of rats.
It's worse than New York. I've heard a lot of things about New York.
Actually, New York and Chicago are usually around the top of the list. All right. So anyway, so I didn't know very much about rodent biology when I was starting this. This was just an idea that I had.
Yeah.
I've never owned rats. I've only ever seen them in an alley, and I usually run away like a little girl screaming. Yeah. And so I thought, how can I learn? How can I get the biology right? Okay. And so I actually recruited a rodent biologist to review the rat sections of the novel. And give me feedback on, hey, would a rat do that? No, a rat wouldn't do that, and he gave me feedback on that. And then I've never lived in Chicago, and so I wanted to make sure that I got that right. And so I recruited 2 people who have lived in Chicago for most of their lives, and I sent the Chicago parts to them and said, hey, take a look at this. Did I get the public transit right? Would they be in this part of town to do this? To validate some of the things that I researched.
Right. Yeah.
So that the Chicago parts are right, the rodent biology parts are right. And so I call that, it's not quite beta reading. It's more what I would call fact checking. Okay. So just to make sure that what's there makes sense, that a reader's not going to read it and say, no, that's BS.
That's not right. Yeah,
that's not
exactly.
Right. That's not right. Yeah. That's the worst thing you can do. And nothing will pull a reader out of the story faster. Right. So that's the first step. The next step is, if I choose to do it, is beta readers. So those are people where you'll send the whole book to, and they're as close as possible to a paying reader. So someone who's in your genre, who likes to read the genre. That's what I do with that. And then I usually give them like a 2 or 3 week turnaround to give me feedback on, hey, did you like it? Did you not? What did you like? What didn't you like? And then I'll send it to an editor. But the first editor only primarily looks at issues related to continuity. So, like the website, I don't know if it's still around. It used to be called Nitpicks.
No, I don't think.
Where they would look at movies and, if a character was wearing a boutonniere in one frame and then in the next frame they weren't, they would catch it. Okay. Kind of like little inconsistency
things
issues.
Like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I have an editor that looks primarily at that. That's
all they focus on.
For the most part, that's all they focus on. And then they give me the feedback, and then I send it to a copy editor. Okay. And the copy editor goes through line by line, grammar, spelling, all that stuff. And then, depending on how I feel, I may send it to a proofreader. So I've got a lot of people that look at it from the point that I write it to the point that I actually publish it.
That's good, though. You got a lot of eyeballs on it then.
Yeah, and you'd be amazed at just having some of the diversity. Diversity of thought, I think, is really important when you're creating a book, because one reader may not say anything, but another reader might be like, hey, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. So it gives you an interesting way into learning how to write in a way that will capture everyone's attention.
Right. And how many times have you run into situations where what you put down on paper really needs to be fixed according to what a beta reader has caught, or your proofreader, or your consistency checker? How many times have you had to go back and fix something like that?
Usually they never catch anything that's earth-shattering.
That's major. Oh, that's
good. They'll catch plot holes here and there, or they'll say, "Hey, that doesn't make sense compared to what this character said in chapter 13."
Right.
And that's always helpful. But I've never had anyone say, "Nope, that doesn't make any sense at all. If they did this, like I have to go back and rewrite the novel." I mean, if that ever did happen, I probably would just scrap the whole thing and just write the novel again. Okay. I really don't believe in rewriting. I think it's one of those things, like, for me personally, I don't enjoy going back and rebuilding something that I already wrote.
Right.
Like, it's not enjoyable. And one of the things that I found is that sometimes you don't know what readers are going to resonate with. Like the scene that you wrote really quickly and you thought was crappy could be the scene that they remember the most.
That they really enjoy, yeah.
And you have no way of knowing that until you publish. And so for me, I just would rather take a chance on myself. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's on me. You know, I don't blame the readers for it. I own up to my mistakes and I try to learn better next time. And every book is just a snapshot of kind of who I am and how strong I am in the writing craft at the time that I write it.
So about how long does it take you from the time you start with your first opening shot to the time that your book is finally ready for production? I mean, not production. Listen to me. I sound like a movie maker. Publication.
Yeah. Publication. Yeah, it depends. It depends. There's so many factors. The biggest factor usually is the editor and cover designer. If your cover designer is backed up, it could take months.
Oh, wow.
You know, I can write. I mean, honestly, I can write a book, and like I said, I can write a book in about 21 days. I can have beta readers and fact checkers give me feedback in another 2 to 3 weeks, and an editor can be done with it in about 2. So I can move stuff pretty quickly, but it just depends on your cover designer. Because if your cover designer, so the good cover designers, they can take months to get on their calendars.
Right.
So you have to be strategic on how you plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So about how many books of yours actually make it to publication in a year on average? Has to be several if you've got 60 already under your belt.
Yeah, it depends on the year. Usually it's somewhere between 5 to 7. Some years I've done as much as 10 to 12.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
You are very busy. So my next question was going to be, what is a day in the life of someone like you who has a full-time job, but also fits in pretty much a full-time writing career?
Yeah.
How do you squeeze all that in? Plus your YouTube channel, which we'll get to in a bit. How do you segment your day? Yeah,
my day starts usually between 5 and 5:30. So I wake up very early, and that's usually when I do some meditation, check emails, handle any business items that have kind of come in overnight. And then I usually will sit down and start writing. And then around 7:30, 8-ish, it's when I'll log into work. And so
you work from home?
Yep, I work from home.
Oh, well, that helps, doesn't it?
It does help. It does help. Although I did commute before the pandemic. So,
okay.
But, so when I'm at work, I'm at work. I'll get some breaks here and there where, maybe I'll take some time to answer emails or get a few words in on my phone or whatever that might look like. But I really don't have that kind of time. And then after work is done, I spend time with family. So dinner time, family time. And then I'll usually try to write for, an hour, 90 minutes or so before bedtime. And that's my day. But I guess how to get the writing done, a lot of it has been, I've learned to write on my phone. So,
oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, I use the Scrivener app on my phone to help me write novels.
My goodness. Do your thumbs get tired?
No, they don't. They don't get tired at all.
That would absolutely drive me crazy.
That's what a lot of people say. I had to do it out of necessity. So I was working a crazy job. I was a manager at a Fortune 100 insurance company, and I realized that my situation was such that I was never in front of my computer.
Yeah.
And so if I didn't learn to do something different, the 5 to 7 books that I write would be 1 to 2. And so I kind of had to retrain my brain, but I learned to learn how to write and write cleanly in the backseat of an Uber car while I'm waiting for my doctor to come in and see me.
Yeah, just all the spare time you can get a hold of.
Yeah, before the pandemic started, if we were at the mall and my wife was looking at something at a shop that I didn't care for, I'd go find a couch at the mall and sit down and get in 100 words. And those little bits of time add up over a period of a year. And it's Ryan J. Pelton, the writer friend of mine. He says that's what he calls writing in the cracks of life.
Oh, and that's a good phrase.
And you learn how to do that, and all of a sudden you're writing more than you thought you could write. And right now before the pandemic, it was about 40% of all my words came from my phone. Now it's about 20 to 30%. But I've also learned dictation. So I actually use this microphone.
I was going to ask if
dictate.
you dictated any of your novel.
I have. Yep. I dictated several of my novels. In fact, this novel I just told you about, I dictated that. So, yeah.
It's a different part of your brain. So I wrote a novel too, not published. Meanwhile, I helped my brother publish 2 of his own novels, and mine's still not published. But, for a good portion of that, I would take a digital recorder, hang it around my neck, and go outside and walk at night.
Yeah.
And dictate the novel. And my dog would walk beside me. You can hear her little dog chains in the background. Not her dog chains, her little, her tags. Yeah. But I discovered that it takes a completely different part of your brain. It's almost like you have to. So I find that for me, writing it out is the most, like, that gets me the most just really into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the typing, and that's similar to writing, but a little different because you're using completely different muscles, the way your hand moves. Mm-hmm. And it's like when you've got that physical connection with the pen and paper, your brain can just kind of just get involved in the story more. That's the way it was for me anyway. So then when I moved to keyboard, I was a little bit more removed from the process. And then when I did the dictation, that felt like it was completely removed, and it was much harder to mesh with the story. And so one thing the way I thought about it was, if I could visualize that I'm physically writing it as I dictate, maybe that would sort of help connect with it more. So did you have any sort of issues like that when you transitioned from either handwriting or typing to the dictation?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I completely agree with everything you just said, in that it's so weird when you change your writing method.
Yes. It is.
Oh my gosh. When I first started dictating, I felt like so I learned to do it. I learned to do it kind of a weird way. So I learned it. I got Dragon, which is the dictation software.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I basically said, I have to learn this. Like, I really want to learn it. So I learned how to speak my novels cleanly without my hands on the keyboard. So if I made a mistake, I would I had a practice chapter. So if I started speaking it, and if I made a single mistake, I would blow the whole thing up and I would start again. Oh, and I forced myself to do this over and over and over until I could dictate really cleanly with like 98% accuracy.
Oh, goodness.
And that took like a couple weeks though. But once I figured it out, it's almost like learning another language. Like, you never forget it, or like riding a bike. Like, you just never. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's weird to say, open quote, I want to talk to you today, comma, close quote. Right. Period. Open quote. Weird.
It feels very clunky.
It's so awkward.
Especially if someone might hear you.
I know. When people hear you, it's really weird. And then you hear yourself and you're like, this just doesn't sound right. But, you speak 2 or 3 times faster, and so true. Even though it sounds weird, you're writing 2 or 3 times faster. And
less strain on your wrists.
Absolutely. Less strain on your wrists, less strain on your back. I mean, you can dictate lying down. You can dictate standing up. Exactly. You can dictate while you're walking. I mean, it's so much healthier.
Yeah.
And so I said, I have to learn this. And so, it's fun. And I even dictate on an exercise bike, believe it or not. You can't see it, but I've got a little bike that's got a desk on it.
Oh, it's hooked up to you've got the microphone goes all the way to your.
Yeah, I have another microphone that I hook up to it, and I've got like a little microphone arm, and then I just have the microphone in front of my mouth, and it's like a recumbent bike, so I'll just pedal, and then I'll tell a story.
So you don't get out of breath or anything while you're exercising and dictating.
Yeah, sometimes I go at a really slow pace though.
Oh, okay, just kind of to keep your body moving in some way, but not necessarily exhaust yourself.
Exactly. Like this last novel I wrote, I lost 4 pounds while I was dictating it. So
that struck me funny. That's funny. Well, I can see. I mean, if you're dictating and you're on the recumbent bike the whole time, I can see why you would lose weight. Okay, it's time to lose the weight. Let me write another book.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, if I need to lose some weight really quickly, is how I'm going to do it.
Write a book. But that's cool though. So is the dictation something that is fairly recent, or have you been doing it for a long, long time?
I've been doing it since 2016.
Oh, you have been doing it for quite a while. You are well into it. That's how you were able to get so many books under your belt, probably.
Partially, yeah. Partially. Yeah. I dictation was a big part of it. Writing on my phone was another part of it. I'm a pretty fast typist too. So kind of all those things together, I think just kind of add up. And my big thing that I try to tell people is when they're learning how to write is that your writing app and your writing method are most important early decisions that you make. Because if you write in the style that is most comfortable to you, that's great. But wouldn't it be better to be able to write no matter where you are, or no matter how you're feeling, or no matter what position you might be in or where you might be in the world? Like, wouldn't that be more productive? And wouldn't it be great if you could switch between those? So like, for example, after I talk to you, I might stand at my computer and dictate, but then I might have to go upstairs and, I don't know, do something upstairs. I don't know what it would be, but it might require me to be on my couch. And I don't want to take my laptop all the way up to my couch.
Right.
So I can just whip out my phone and pick up where I left off. I might have to go to the doctor's office. Oh, okay. Take my phone to the doctor. I might need to exercise. Okay. Well, I'll just hop on and start. So adapting the writing method to suit your lifestyle,
your situation. Yeah.
I think is critical. And then unlocking those pockets of time throughout the day where you can write is also kind of one of the secrets to my success.
Well, I think that's definitely something that applies to a lot of situations, not just the writing. Just if you have something you have to do, if you're able to just take whatever spare moment you can grab at that particular time, it's amazing how much more productive you can be with whatever it is you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly.
And it's also less overwhelming. Because if you think, oh, I got to sit down for 3 hours and do such and such, or I got to work 3 hours on the laundry, it's like, well, if you just take a little bit at a time, throughout the day, to 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. So that makes complete sense that it works so well for you. I just still don't think I could ever write on my phone.
Well, there's always Bluetooth keyboards too.
That's true.
And then there's Dragon Anywhere. It's a subscription, and you get really good results dictating on your phone with no hardware. So there's options. That's the great thing.
Yeah, that's true. There is. My brother, a lot of the writing that he does when he's sort of planning out his stuff, he does it on his phone, and it's just, I would be the dictator. No, I just don't think I could do it. I mean, I hate texting. I just can't stand it. I love text technology, but I hate texting because I'm always hitting the wrong key. It just drives me crazy. So I was also going to ask you, when I got the books mixed up that you were talking about earlier, your collaborative work with Justin Sloan, is he the only author you've collaborated with, or have you worked with others on
He's
books?
the only one.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the only one. Justin and I had a funny story. So we met, I don't remember who introduced us, but Justin and I wrote a very similar idea that was kind of a wacky idea. So we wrote independently of each other. We had no idea that either of us existed. Back in 2014, I wrote a story called the Sword Bear Chronicles. So Theo and the Festival of Shadows. And that's a story about a teddy bear who has to rescue his owner from the boogeyman, and he has to travel to a nightmare dimension to save him. Okay. And I kind of describe it as Toy Story meets David Bowie's Labyrinth meets Choose Your Own Adventures.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's an interactive novel.
Yeah.
And Justin wrote a novel right around the same time. It wasn't interactive, but it was a story about a teddy bear in a monster land. And this teddy bear could do kung fu and all this stuff. And we found out about that. We had both written these, and we got together and we were just kind of laughing about it.
Yeah. That's
and we're
funny.
like, great minds think alike. Would it be cool if we wrote a novel together? And so that's how we met. And we almost did a teddy bear story collaboration, but that didn't quite work because there was just some things about our universes that didn't quite mesh.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I think he might have had this idea kicking around in the back of his head about a necromancer. And so we wrote a story about a guy who he loses his fiance, She dies before he can say goodbye, and he wants to bring her back so that they can be back together and he can have a final send off. And so he resorts to the dark art of necromancy to do that, and kind of unleashes Pandora's box on the world and has to save it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, how did you, back to my earlier question when I screwed up the book at the time, how did you come up with the story? Did you both work on plot, or did you both do pantsing?
Yes, and I completely avoided your question, so sorry about that. We collaborated on everything. We used Google Docs, I think, at the time, and we had an outline, and I would start something, and then he would continue it, and then we'd comment on it, and we kind of came to an agreement on what we wanted, and we did outline that one. Because I don't know how you could outline I don't know how you could not outline a collaborated novel.
Yeah, you have to have some sort of framework.
Exactly, that would be tough. It'd be fun, but it would be tough. And so then we started writing, and I took a stab at the first chapter, then he did the second one, and then we kind of blended together in editing. And so one of the cool things that I've always been proud of about this particular story is that we managed to blend our voices so well that readers could not tell
who was writing,
what the Michael chapters were, what the Justin chapters were. It was all seamless. And so
you each took separate chapters?
Yeah, we took separate chapters. We took separate chapters, separate sections, and we edit. So I would edit his and he would edit mine. And we just blended it together. It was really cool.
Wow.
To this day, I don't even remember what I wrote for that book. Like, I don't remember any of the contributions that I wrote.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
That's kind of cool. Did you have video chats, or you did it just all through Google Docs with the notes? And
it's all through Google Docs. I mean, I think we might have hopped on a conference call here and there. But this was before Zoom was really popular. So we mostly just communicated via email.
Okay, that's cool. Do you plan to do any more with him?
Probably not with Justin. I mean, I would be open to it. I mean, Justin, he was fantastic. He was a fantastic writer. I just don't know, from a collaboration perspective, I just don't know if I have the time anymore to collaborate while also doing my own stuff. Yeah. But if it was the right project, right person, I would definitely be open to it.
Okay. Yeah, I know I didn't know that he collaborated until there was a project that he collaborated with another author on, and I cannot remember. I think it was a girl.
He's done a few. He's done a few collaborations.
Addison, maybe is her name. Okay, so this is something that he's done.
He's done it more than I have, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, he's collaborated with Michael Anderle. He collaborated with P.T. Hilton, I think.
Okay.
There's been a few people that he's worked with.
Yeah.
And he's always done a great job with it. It's one of his specialties.
Well, it's definitely different. So we've done a series for him, and it was just him. But then the collaboration that we worked on, that actually we're going to be working on the second book in that collaboration at some point in the near future, which I'm really looking forward to, because I really like this series. And he does, it's like it's not even him writing, even though I know he's involved. So it seems like he's able to adapt his style to match with maybe who he's collaborating with.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Doesn't surprise me. Like I said, he's a super talented guy.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing to watch his success, like how he's all the different stories that he's written, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. That's nice. I'm going to have to check out that series. And also, whenever your rat one, that's the one you said you just finished?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out too.
Yeah. I finished book 1. I'm writing book 2 right now.
It's going to be a series. Okay.
It'll be a series. It'll be at least 3 to 5 books.
Okay. Well, if you have any other rat questions, you can ask me.
Okay.
Because I've had rats for a while. I'm not like a super expert, but I understand rats quite a bit.
Okay. That's good to know. Very good to know.
They're in my videos with me. Sometimes I hold them when I'm making videos for my channel, and one will jump up on my
awesome.
shoulder. Yeah. I don't have them with me today though. So moving on now to your YouTube channel, and how in the world you have time to do all of that?
Yeah. I just make time. I just make time. I've when I first started, I didn't think that YouTube. I didn't think people in a million years would watch any of my YouTube videos. To this day, I don't even remember why I decided to do it. It was just
Mm,
a random experiment. It's like, hey, I got nothing to lose. Why not try
yeah.
to try this? And I have some public speaking ambitions one day, so maybe it would be interesting to find out what I could learn. And I did these videos where I recorded in my basement at the time at the last house I was living in, and I recorded in front of a white background.
Yeah, I remember those
So
videos.
yeah, so it kind of looks like an Apple commercial,
Oh,
and
okay.
it was cool. And I did all those on my phone. So
It was really well done, though. I mean,
yeah,
the
thank you.
audio and the video and the editing was very professional looking.
Yeah, it was good enough that people were like, hey, I actually like this. And
Yeah.
they started showing up in searches. And I actually did a video that's today one of my more popular videos, which was 10 ways to outline a novel. And I just went through the top 10, like the top 10 most popular ways to outline a book.
Okay.
And that video kind of blew up. And then
Oh,
I started doing videos every week, and I started getting a lot of subscribers. And then I crossed like a really important threshold that you can cross to start getting like advertising money from YouTube.
yeah.
So the 1,000 subscriber mark and
4,000
4,000 watch hours.
Yeah.
I hit that in about a year.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, this is really cool. People are resonating with it. And so I kept doing it. And I took a little bit of a hiatus.
Yeah, I noticed.
I had some weird things going on in my basement that I had to take care of. But I came back in 2018, and I've been doing it ever since. And I just enjoy I enjoy teaching writing. Like I enjoy taking concepts that seem complicated and difficult, and I like breaking them down into things that people can understand. And
Right.
I kind of have a different angle at things. I tend to specialize in the nitty gritty. I'm not afraid to get really deep into something, and that might be for some people. It might not be for other people, but I just try to create the content that would have helped me.
Mm-hmm.
When I was coming up, I try to create content that I don't see anywhere else. And sometimes that's like, people are like, I don't know about that. That's weird.
Yeah.
Other times it's like, okay, this is different. This is unique. It's helpful. And I've got about 30,000 subscribers right now.
That's
So
great.
I've got to be doing a few things right.
Yeah, because the last time I saw, I think it was at 25 or 28,000. Yep. So you're growing at a nice steady pace. That's really great.
Yeah.
Do you do you offer, or are you thinking about offering writing courses on your site, or maybe do you? Because I haven't checked out your site in a while, but it seems to me like it'd be something right up your alley.
Yeah, I have thought about it. I'm just looking for the right opportunity because one of my things is, I like to provide information. My main method right now is through books and through content like podcast and YouTube. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I'm not trying to do is I'm not trying to squeeze money out of my audience. Yeah, I'm just trying to help them where they are. Mm-hmm. I have thought about courses. I do have 2 courses right now. They're not writing specific. One of them is how to write to market. So I basically I kind of let you peer over my shoulder as I design a new series. And so what are the decisions you have to make in terms of marketing? Mm-hmm. What are the conversations I'm having with my cover designer? How do I find an editor? These sorts of things. Okay. And that's one course. That's probably my more popular course. And then I did another course. It's called Writing in Hard Times. So when things get tough, like during COVID-19, how do you stay engaged? How do you protect your writing business? What are some things that can end your writing business, and how can you start preparing for those so that you can avoid them? That's my least popular course. That was one of those experiments. It's kind of one of those things out there. I'm the only person in this lane when it comes to, writing contingency plans. But I thought it was an important topic that more people needed to hear. And so I took the chance.
Yeah. I mean, it might pick up at some point. You never know.
Yeah. And that's the beauty.
That particular one.
Yeah. That's the beauty. You never know. Like sometimes things just, they get legs of their own years later,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
so I just create. I have a blast. I think it's great that I get to wake up and do what I want to do every day.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like Babe Ruth. I mean, how many times did Babe Ruth strike out? A lot,
Yeah.
and but you got to keep going up to the bat, or keep
Yeah.
going up to the plate and keep swinging. And that's what I do.
Persistency.
Yep.
Yeah. So, how do you fit in your YouTube filming and editing and the live? You do live streams,
Yes.
writing like at least once a week. How do you fit the filming and the editing and the live streams into your? Well, for the live streams, you picked a day. That's just when you do it, a day in time. But for the other stuff, which involves you thinking about your topic, maybe writing out a little script for what you're going to say, filming it, editing it, uploading it, keywording it, and all that stuff. How do you fit all that? Because a lot of that stuff is not stuff you can just do through, you have to actually sit down and film.
And be deliberate, yeah.
And you need to edit.
I usually have one day a week where I'll sit down and film. I usually, when I'm planning my videos, I will batch plan. So I'll plan videos out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll batch it out, and then I'll sit down and record 2 to 3 videos at a time. Before, when I first started doing this, I had to figure out a way to fit everything in. And sometimes that meant sacrificing writing time. And sometimes it meant sacrificing more writing time than I was comfortable with.
Yeah.
But I knew that the YouTube channel would be important because it's led to so many different opportunities for me. It's led to speaking events, paid speaking events.
Nice.
It's crazy. It's crazy the types of things, like the types of requests that land in my inbox because someone saw some of my videos on YouTube. Yeah. And so why would I stop that? Right.
Right.
So I've been fortunate that the channel's done well enough that I've actually hired a video editor who handles all of my videos now. So we brainstorm on the idea. I sit down and record it. I upload it to him, and he pretty much takes care of the rest. So,
okay. That takes a load off.
Yeah. And I just do the keywording and stuff like that afterward and the SEO. But yeah, it saves me a lot of time every week.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that's nice that it's been able to work out like that for you. So the writing, the live streams that you do every week.
It's once a month.
Oh, once a month. Okay. Sorry. You put a video up approximately once a week?
Yeah. Every Friday at noon, I have a new video
Every Friday at noon. So you got a nice schedule. And then the writing sort of live stream stuff, that's just sort of kind of like writing workshops, or people are just, you're writing together, or?
We write together. I call them writing power hours.
That's the one.
Yep, writing power hours. Yep. And basically I sit down and write for 90 minutes, and I invite other people to do it because there's a lot of people in my community. They're like, I just need some motivation. I just need to, it's nice to be able to write with the community. And so what we do is we write for 25-minute sprints. So we'll write for 25 minutes, and then we'll take 5 minutes off, and I'll answer any questions, shoot the breeze, have some fun, and then we go back. And so we do that for 90 minutes.
Oh,
and it's the first Saturday of every month.
Okay. Yeah. I thought it was on a Saturday, because I thought I remember seeing your video was live one Saturday, and I popped in just to check it out. Yeah. And I can't remember if you were in the middle of writing at the time or if you were answering questions. I don't recall. But I was like, that's kind of neat, though, because it does build this sense of community with other writers and the motivation, for sure.
Yeah. And I have a lot of people that they show up every month. Yeah. And they know that the first weekend of the month now is when they can get some writing time in. Yeah. And one of the things that I invite everyone to do is share their word counts. And so it's amazing to see how many words people got written.
Right.
I think collectively one weekend we wrote 60,000 words as a community. It's like a whole novel.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's cool.
That's great. That's you have some very interesting ideas when it comes to writing, how to write, the methods, the process, and then of course stuff like that with your YouTube channel. Where do you see your YouTube channel going in the future, or are you just going to kind of just continue to do the same thing you've been doing, or do you have plans for something else?
Yeah, my plan is to continue on YouTube. I would like to do, once I finish law school, YouTube will be more of a focus for me. I would like to double down my YouTube presence. I just haven't been able to do that because I've been so stretched over the past 3 years. And so once that goes away, I'll have more time to devote to it.
Right.
One of the things I'm kind of experimenting with that I'm seeing a trend on that I would like to jump on, and very few in the writing space, I don't know of anyone in the writing space that's done this, is long form courses on YouTube. So like a 8-hour video on how to self-publish and just posting that.
Yeah.
Because the YouTube algorithms, they favor longer videos. And there's something to be said about that. I've seen a lot of channels in the educational space do this. So I kind of would like to do that. It'd be just to see what would happen. Like that's the thing about me is I'm all about experimenting.
Yeah. You're not afraid to try something new.
I try stuff and 90% of it fails. Usually fails epically. But the 10% that doesn't, interesting things happen. And so I don't know, for me, YouTube is, I'm not about, like I said, I'm not trying to squeeze money out of my audience. I'm just trying to provide value and trying to figure out what works so I can do more of that. And if I happen to make more money at it, great. But really, I want my full-time income to come from writing fiction. That's my primary vision. So YouTube for me, I'll continue doing it as long as it's fun for me. For me, everything's got to be fun. I have to enjoy it. And the moment it stops being fun, I won't do it anymore.
Right.
But right now I'm having a blast.
Yeah. And keep it extremely busy. You're probably the busiest person I know. Good Lord. I just cannot imagine. So do you plan to continue to stay working full time in the insurance business, or are you going to branch off and do something with law once what is your field of law study?
It is actually related to insurance, but the main reason, I took it so I could benefit my employer and my employer would pay for it. It's a good resume builder. So I got to say that, right? But actually one of the real reasons I got it was so that I could sit in and learn about copyright. So they let me take copyright law and they let me take employment law. And as a self-published author, copyright is how I make my money. And so there may come a day where Hollywood comes knocking. Actually has happened at least once already for me.
Really?
They're going to come knocking and I don't want to be at a disadvantage. I want to understand what the heck I'm signing and if I should sign it in the first place. And so that's important to me. Also employment law. I have a video editor. I hire lots of people to do one-off tasks for me, but one day I may have someone who maybe works full-time for me. What are the things I need to be thinking about there? Right. Tax law, there's just all sorts of things that it just benefits you to have a legal education. I actually have no intent of practicing law, believe it or not.
Oh,
no intent. And people are like, what the heck? Why would you do that? And I say, well, I'm very strategic about it. I'm looking long-term.
Yeah.
And I'm investing in myself. I'm betting on myself. And I just don't want to be in a situation one day where I sign a really bad contract that could end my career because of something that I didn't know I was signing. So that is the intent. So to answer your question, long-term, I'm actually okay with my career in insurance. I've done pretty well for myself. I've carved out an interesting niche. It wouldn't be the end of the world if I did have to work in my line of business for the rest of my career. That said, I would love to write a book or a series of books that allow me to not do that. So if and when it happens, I'll take advantage of it. But right now I'm just focused on keeping my head down and doing the work.
Just continuing on, just keeping on.
Exactly.
Well, you are very motivated and you've got it together. I'm quite impressed at what you have been able to accomplish. How much more do you have with law school?
I'm in my last class. So I literally have one class left.
And when did you start?
I started in 2017.
Oh, okay. So it hasn't been like, do you take online courses or do you have to go to university or something?
I started going to the university. So I would take evening classes. But since the pandemic, everything's gone online.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
I'm
all
finishing
changed.
out my last classes online, but everything before that was in person.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's intense. There's a lot of reading and a lot of
Intense. That's
analysis and,
putting it mildly. I mean, I'm just thinking of everything that you have to fit into a day. And
yeah.
I just cannot imagine.
Yeah, I definitely have some help. Like I said, I've been
Yeah.
fortunate enough to hire some folks to help me with
Yeah.
things that I don't necessarily have time for. Another thing that I've invested in that's paying off big dividends is automation. So I've invested a lot in automating a lot of the things that they're important, but I don't necessarily need to be doing them. Like, for example,
I was going to ask you for an example.
yeah. So like, for example, just like give you, I have two easy examples. One example is like sales reports. So, you get your sales report from ACX, you get your sales report from Amazon, you get your sales report from all these different places. And it's kind of a pain in the neck to figure out how much money you made in a given month. So one of the things that I did is I developed a system that automatically takes all of my royalty statements, calculates them up, and puts them into a pivot table in Excel. All I have to do is just click a few buttons. So I don't have to do any manual calculation, none of that crap. Just click a button. Okay, so how much you made, it cost me a couple $100, but that saves me 4 to 5 hours a month.
Oh,
that's how long it used to take me, and I figured out a way to automate some of my editing as well. So Microsoft Word, I've used Microsoft Word macros and some kind of custom VBA code that helps me capture edits that my editor has made in the past so that I don't make the same mistakes over and over and over again.
How would you work something like that out into an automation though? I can't, how do you?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. It can be done, and I did it. So yeah, it's stuff like that. Like my goal long term is to create a writing business that runs itself so that I can spend my time doing the things that I should be doing. And you could pay an assistant to help you with a lot of this stuff, like the sales thing. But why do you want to pay an assistant 4 to 5 hours a month to do something that they're probably going to hate? I mean, I used to pay an assistant to do that, and they quit. They said, Michael, I can't do this anymore. This sucks. This is the worst job I've ever had.
Oh no.
So why not figure out a way to streamline your processes first?
Yeah.
Then automate, and then hire people to do what's left over. And so when you follow that process, then that frees up a lot of time for you to write more books, right? To, hire people to help you do even more things that you don't want to do or should be doing.
Yeah.
I automate my emails, not the responses, but just the flow of emails that come in. I found ways to automate my bookkeeping so that if a receipt comes in, it automatically gets flagged and tagged and filed away from my accountant. So I've invested in ways over the years to save me lots of hours,
right,
so that I can spend my time doing the things that matter, which, like this show, talking to you, talking to my readers, writing, marketing, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ways I found ways to make more time in the day.
and those little things help, like you say, it does save quite a bit of time. I just would never be able to figure out how to do something like that.
I had no idea how to do any of this stuff either. It was driving me crazy. Oh crap, I got to do my sales this month, or I got to do my bookkeeping this month. And it would take me away from writing. And so I was Jim Kukral. Do you know Jim Kukral? He used to host.
Sounds familiar.
He used to host the More Book Show. And one of the things he always said on that show was, if you got a hurting tooth, a toothache, how bad does that tooth have to hurt before you go to the dentist?
Go get it taken care of, yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, and right around 5 or 6 is when most people go to the dentist. If I have any kind of toothache, I'm going to the dentist right away. So
yeah.
For me, I'm ruthless about eliminating things from my desk that I don't need to be doing. That's good, because most of the writing life is manual. Almost all of it is manual. And I feel like we spend so much time doing stuff that in any other industry, someone would find a way to automate it or find a way to save people time. And so if you just understand how to think that way, and then you understand that the tools that I used, Cyn, are already on my computer. Like I really didn't have to pay any extra money. I just had to hire a programmer to help me.
Oh, so a programmer wrote the stuff for you. Okay,
Most of
that's what you meant when you said it cost 200 or however much you said.
Yeah,
it cost me like
$300, and a lot of time learning how to do some of it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice part is once I do it, I don't have to ever do it again.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's the life of a self-published author.
Mm-hmm.
One of our biggest advantages is that we can be nimble. We can do things on the turn of a dime that a traditional publisher would take a corporation a lot of time to even think about doing something like that, or automating it. It's quite expensive for them. But we can turn on a dime, and we can do things that, like I said, just make you nimble. So why not take advantage of the technology, like I said, that's already on your computer?
Yeah.
Learn how to use it, learn how to maximize it, get the most out of it. And you'd be amazed at what you can do. I mean, honestly, the day I go full time as a writer, I'm not going to spend 8 hours a day writing. Why would I do that? Because I can already publish 5 to 7 books a year with doing writing as part time.
Right.
If I just spend all my time writing, I'm going to burn myself out.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine that would be the case. Yeah.
So I would just keep the current pace that I'm at, and wow, that opens up so much more time where I can spend doing other things.
Yeah. So this thing that you do with the sales reports, what the program that the guy wrote for you, what is it like? How do you work that? What happens?
Yeah, it's all Microsoft Excel.
Oh, it's Microsoft Excel.
Yeah, just Microsoft Excel macros.
Is it CSV reports or whatever they call that?
Yeah.
Is that how you get the information? Okay.
Yeah, well, they come in various reports without getting too nitty gritty. Basically, you open the sales report. I run a macro on it that chops it up and standardizes it, and then that goes into a database. And then there's some magic, some pixie dust that I put on it, and then it blends all of the sales reports together, so I can see everything together.
Wow.
Yeah, and like I said, that just took me like 2 months, and once I solved it, it was done. I didn't have to worry about it anymore. Yeah. And I saved myself 4 hours a month, 4 to 5 hours a month.
That's good, because someone with as much stuff packed into their day as you have, that's a good time.
4 hours is a big deal.
Yes, for sure. Are you sure you sleep?
I try. I got 7 hours of sleep last night, believe it or not.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, is that your typical, or sometimes is it a lot less?
Sometimes it's less. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it is less. But I've during the pandemic, I've tried to be very strategic about my sleep. So
it's important.
Yeah, it's important, and you only get one life, and so
right.
Yeah, I usually get between 6 and 8 hours a night.
Yeah, well, that's probably about average for a lot of people. Yeah. I think for me to be semi-functional, at least 7 is kind of important. But I mean, someone who's already gone through a very serious health scare would understand the value of trying to, take care of your body, take care of your health, and
exactly,
your mental health too. Like you said, you get up and you do that meditation, sort of kind of clear your head. So, wow, you are an inspiration, I must say.
Oh, thank you.
I have no excuses at all. So this has been great, Michael. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure, Cyn.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And so I will keep an eye on your writing, and I'm going to look out for that rat book, because I'm really curious to see how you wrote something like that.
Yeah, sure.
And also your Android series sounds pretty interesting too. So I think I'm going to check that out as well. And let me minimize my screen so I can see what the heck I'm doing, because I was going to try to wrap things up. Oh my gosh, we've already gone on over an hour.
Oh, that's okay. No problem.
I only meant to keep it at like 60 minutes, but I tend to yak.
We get talking and it's all good. Yeah, like I said, when I do these interviews, I always make as much time as the interviewer needs. So no worries.
Oh, okay, cool. You are very accommodating. Thank you so much. And so glad that you were able to join my my little YouTube community, my little YouTube corner. I call it Cyns Corner, just my little space.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've started to do interviews. I've done quite a few. It started off with my brothers and just like interesting people that I would like to talk to and find out more about them and what they do.
Yeah.
And just how they tick and all that sort of stuff. And so you came to mind of like, I have got to talk to him, because this whole journey of what I'm doing now, it all got started because I decided to start doing audiobooks.
Yeah.
And so you were there with me from step one.
Yep.
So I was like, that would be absolutely amazing to talk with him. And we've never talked face to face.
No, we haven't. This is the first time.
Yeah, it was cool. And it felt so natural, and just it felt just like it's like I've known you all along so many years.
Exactly.
So.
It's just, the internet works like that, you know?
I know, right? Isn't it great though, during this time that we're all going through, that we've got the internet that can keep us connected, sort of, kind of, you know, and some people who, you know, my job, it wasn't affected by what happened because I work in audiobooks and I work online and do my work, upload it. You know, it's been great. So I love the internet for that. And also to be able to meet so many great people and have them on my show.
Yes. And we'll have to chat about your audiobook service, because I may have a need. So
okay, sure. Since you wrote Lit RPG, I could see you fitting in fairly well.
Oh, that's right. That's all they do, right? Is the Lit RPG.
It's not all, but I would say that is the bulk of what we do. Okay. And so it's soundbooththeater.com. And I will a lot of times suggest to our crew, you know, oh, there's this author, maybe we can, you know, touch base with them. But then they also come to us too. And, you know, you could go through me if you wanted, and I would pass along your information, or you could just go directly to the website and send an email.
Yeah, because you said you were doing proofing, so I thought that was.
Yeah, I do audiobook. I also do manuscript editing.
Okay.
But my favorite is the audiobook proofing, just because I love audiobooks.
Exactly, and you're a narrator, so.
Yes, that's right. That's how I got into proofing, because I sort of understand the business. And so Jeff Hayes, he offered, you know, he said, would you like to be my audiobook proofer? I was like, well, heck yeah. I didn't even know there was such a thing, but
yeah, I know.
So that's how it worked out.
Well, that's awesome. It's just funny how life takes us in different paths, you know?
I know.
Converge at some point.
Yeah. Do you plan to write any more nonfiction stuff about writing?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I usually write a couple of nonfiction books a year.
Oh, okay.
Anywhere from 4 to 6. So
wow.
Yeah. Of course and I've actually started narrating some of my own stuff, believe it or not.
Oh, have you?
I narrated my first book. Yeah. Last year.
Which one?
It's called 150 Self-Publishing Questions Answered.
Oh.
I can send you a link.
Yeah, I would love to check that out. So that's kind of did you have people help you with the editing on that, with the proofing on that, or did you do all of it yourself?
I did it all myself, and it sucked. The editing was, I hired an engineer, so I use Reaper.
Oh, okay.
And basically he did a Reaper. Do you have time? I want to make sure you're.
No, I'm fine. Go ahead.
Okay. He basically did a template so that it was based on my voice. So I didn't have to worry about like mixing. All I would do is
EQ stuff and all that.
It was all preset. Yep. All I had to do is speak. And so that saved me a lot of time, but the editing was horrible. I hated it.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought about hiring somebody to help me with it, but I was like, well, that defeats the purpose, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to continue doing it, but it is a major time commitment.
Yes, it is. And when you first start out in audiobooks, that's so, you know, all of the audiobooks that I ever did, I did everything. I had to learn all of this stuff about the narrating, the noise floor, the microphone, and getting it connected, and where to be in front of the mic, you know, and sound treatment of the room.
Yep.
And then after that, going through and doing the proofing, then the mastering, and now I've got it. I mean, I'm much better at it now. All the audio that I do for my channel, I do the same sort of thing that I would do. Like no, I don't go through and do stuff like take out mouth clicks and things like that, but I do the mastering stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like a template on my Audacity.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just hit a button and it goes through.
That's the nice thing about Audacity is you got those macros too.
I love Audacity.
Yeah, Audacity is
amazing.
Awesome. I just wish it worked better on Mac.
Oh, you have a Mac.
It doesn't work I can't get it to work.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, so I use Reaper. I mean, Reaper's not bad. I like it.
Yeah, I looked into Reaper, but I never took the lead.
Yeah, it's not bad, but I just like simplicity of Audacity. But yeah, it's all good.
It's such a cool program for free.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, wow. So where did you record your audiobook? Did you have a little closet?
Yeah, you can't see it, but it's like right over here. I actually have it's like a little Harry Potter closet in my basement.
That's exactly what I did.
Oh, really?
I got started, yeah. I called myself Harry Potter because I had a little nook in my basement under the stairs.
Yeah, that's exactly where mine is. It's under the stairs. And
so
it was
funny.
so awkward. Like we didn't really know what to do with this room.
Yeah.
And so I was like, so I got some foam core boards and I measured out the walls. So I put the boards on the walls and then I put acoustic foam on the boards. That way, if I take them off, my wife's not going to kill me.
That was a good idea.
You know?
Yeah.
And then I got a vocal booth to go. Have you heard of those?
Yes, I have.
I got a Momo. And then I basically just got like a sound blanket under that. And then I just use that to record. And then I have my microphone hooked up. And then I have my laptop just outside of the closet so that the mic doesn't pick it up.
Mm-hmm. That's what I did too. I had my computer on the other side. And now I've got I constructed an actual vocal booth outside of that area.
Oh,
so
awesome.
I've got a dedicated little vocal booth. And I don't use it as much as I would if I were narrating more, because I'm not really narrating a whole lot anymore. But my daughter sometimes does voices for our stuff.
That's
our
cool.
books. And so, it's there. You never know when we're going to return to it on a more regular basis. So, but yeah. So that's cool if you continue to do the narrating.
Yeah. It was kind of funny. Like I told my audience, now that I got this set up, I'll be able to release my ebook, paperback, and audio at the same time. Ha ha ha. That wasn't going to work. No. Unless I want to release like one book a year,
Yeah.
And
a lot of people don't realize how much work is involved.
Oh my gosh.
There is a ton of work.
Yeah.
And how long was? Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna ask, how long was that book that you worked on? How long did it end up? I
think it was like 5 or 6 hours, maybe.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember the exact length, but it wasn't terribly long. But
yeah, but that's still pretty. That's hefty.
Yeah, it was hefty enough that, and then I had to record certain sections of it again.
Yeah.
Because of some technical issues. So, you know how that goes. Yeah.
Yes, I completely do.
But it was good. I enjoyed it. I want to do more of it because I feel like there's so many opportunities coming up, with like AI narration. So like, turning your voice into an AI, and you need lots of audio to do that. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of trepidation over it, just about what it's going to do.
I just wonder how well it's really going to be able to capture all the nuances of the human voice, the different inflections, because a human can read a sentence and they know where the emphasis is supposed to be. But I wonder, is AI really going to be able to capture that sort of thing? I mean, I'm curious to see, but I'm just not so sure how well it will be able to replace a human voice, especially with fiction work.
Yeah, I don't think it will ever replace like a narrator, but I do think it will create a new, cheaper alternative product.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you don't want to pay, what is it, $14.99 for an Audible subscription for like an Audible credit, you can pay $7.99 and get the AI narrating the book. So it's going to be an inferior experience, but you're going to pay less for it.
Right. Yeah.
And so why not have that AI be in my voice? That's
right.
kind of the thing, So,
yeah. That's cool.
As
And
the-
I'm
as
sure
the
you'll
author.
figure out a cool way to do it too.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Both of us will have AI avatars at some point.
That's fine. Oh, okay. Well, this is great.
Yeah, it's been great to talk to you.
Thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I sort of wrapped it up and then we got carried off in another direction, but that's okay because that's the way it ends up a lot of times when I talk to people.
Yeah, no problem at all. And when is this going to go live?
I have an interview for this Friday that's going to go up, and I typically try to release my interviews on Friday, so it has like a whole weekend, to just kind of be there for people to watch. So if not next Friday, then the Friday after.
Okay. Yeah, just let me know, and I'll be sure to share with my audience.
Yeah, sure. Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and hit end broadcast, but we can say our final goodbyes after that. And thank you all for joining me and Michael La Ronn, and hope you enjoyed this interview. I did. It was a lot of fun. Bye, everybody.